My father wants to move his new family into the house I inherited.
That's my house.
I'm a 25 male, not from the US, not looking to get into legalities. I know where I stand on that. My father married his now wife when I was 15. She was really pushy with me because the relationship with her own daughter was almost non-existent. My father did nothing, and I ended up moving with my grandpa, father's father, a few months later. By the way, this comes from Tallmonth9107, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. Grandpa passed away suddenly when I was 17, and I inherited all his properties. Instead of moving back with them, they moved with me to Grandpa's house. I left when I was 18 to go to college, and I go back home a few times a year. I let them stay there rent-free as long as they don't touch my room and Grandpa's office. The house has 4 rooms. I got a call from him telling me that I need to clean my room because they plan to turn it into a nursery room. Apparently, my father's wife got in touch with his daughter because she is pregnant and doesn't have a place to stay. I denied his request and reminded him whose house they are staying at and better not touch the rooms unless they want me to punt them out. I told them there is an empty room. She can stay there, but he claims it's too small for both of them. I said that if they have a problem, they can go back to his own place. There, she can take my room. I don't know if he still has the house. I think I've been more than reasonable, but my uncle, father's brother, who doesn't have the best relationship with my father, called me to say to think about it and not punt them out. So I wonder, am I the a-hole? Their verdict was not the a-hole. The day I wrote the original post, I called Mrs. Lawyer to accompany me to the house to deal with this in a civil manner. Saturday, we went early in the morning with paperwork. Once we arrived and I tried to open the door, I was pleasantly surprised that my father had changed the locks.
Oh, buddy boy. Now you've really done it.
We talked through the door and he told me that until I changed my mind, he wasn't going to let me in.
Dude,
in my own house.
That's not how that works. Now you're a squatter.
With the lawyer as a witness. My goodness.
So funny.
I told him that I wasn't planning to punt them out and I was there to solve this the right way, but if he wasn't going to let me in, I was going to do it my way. And he didn't let me in. On my way to the police station, my uncle called me and said that my father called him in order to make me change my mind, but he wasn't going to do it and will support whatever I decided. In the police station, Mrs. Lawyer explained the situation to them and they came with us so I could evict them without issues. Once we were there, the police spoke to them and told them that they had to let me in and get their things out as soon as possible. I hired a moving truck for them. My father tried to fight, saying that he sold his house and doesn't have a place to go, and he also claimed that he was the rightful owner, but the dimwit doesn't have any paperwork to prove it. In a last attempt, he brought up the fact that my stepsister is pregnant, but unfortunately for them, she is in the early stages and doesn't matter either way. After their circus was over, the removal of their things was quick. Most of the things in the house are mine, except for the things that they have in their room and my stepsister's stuff. I'm currently in the house and plan to stay here the next few days. I've changed the locks and I'm installing security cameras. I talked to my girlfriend about moving here and she's more than happy to do so. I'm going to talk to my boss about the possibility to work from home, but it's not a real problem if I can't. Without having to worry about the house, figuring out the rest is easy. That's pretty much it. I think I covered everything. Thank you for taking your time with this mess I used to call family. But guess what? That's not it. Because we've got a second update. We're not even halfway through, folks. My girlfriend found this space and asked me to share our last encounters with my father. So here it goes. We hadn't heard from him until a few days ago when he showed up at the house. I wasn't there, but girlfriend was. My girlfriend told me that my father was there to tell us that since we are now living in the house, we have to host them for Christmas holidays. Not only that, he gave her a list of the food that they wanted and the gifts that they expected to receive. My girlfriend told him to go away before she called the police. I again thought it was over, but I was wrong again. Yesterday, we received another visit from them. Apparently, he called my mother to invite her to spend the holidays with us. She blew him off and told him that she will take us, girlfriend and I, to Europe for New Year's Eve. Wow. He had the balls to demand that she take them too. And my mother just hung up. Mind you, this was the first time that they had spoken after divorcing 16 years ago.
Dang.
Why does he want to go on this trip if it's going to be with this ex-wife?
I don't understand anything about this guy.
He's insane.
He's like, I just think it would be a great time for us to reconnect and also for you to give me keys to the house.
Yeah, what? He came to the house to demand that I convince my mother to take them too, or that we pay for them to go with us.
Well, I don't understand how he's demanding this.
Yeah.
Like, where is his leverage?
At this point, his attitude stopped being disappointing and turned comical. My girlfriend and I just laughed at him, and we laughed so hard that we didn't notice when he left. I can say that we didn't have the best relationship, but he wasn't entitled. I mean, it was already clear why my grandfather, his father, was completely disappointed in him, but it seems that he wants to take it to another new level. I don't know if he will stop, but I hope that he does for the rest of the year. And there is an edit. I have a security system. There are cameras everywhere. I know if he is there. I also have other properties. My tenants and people close to girlfriend and me, even my neighbors, know what to do if my father approaches them in my name. I doubt he will try to break in when we're not here. When I evicted them, my lawyer and the police were more than clear that he could face serious problems if he tries to enter the house or any other of my properties. Unfortunately, in my country, any kind of restraining order is pretty much useless. It is more helpful to call the police right then and there, and he knows I have no problem calling them. There are some relevant comments, but I want to hear yours, Sophia. It's such a silly situation.
I don't even know what you do. Like, you can't with these people.
Yeah.
You just have to keep going through like legal processes with them.
Yeah. And it seems like
Maybe
OP's
block.
doing that.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
And OP's at a good place where you can just laugh about it now.
Yeah, he's just like, I have a house. You guys don't.
Yeah.
I'm going on a trip with my mom.
Yeah. When asked if his father is just broken, OP says, I agree that he is broken, but I can say that he is by his own hand and not by pressure of any kind. He knows what he is doing. I was basically raised by his parents, and they didn't raise me any different than him or my uncle, who is another case. It baffles me that they turned this way. My grandparents raised us to be decent people, and they decided not to be. It is so bad that my grandparents passed away without speaking to any of them. Wow. I grew up watching him make one mistake after another, no ownership or attempt to be better. My grandparents tried to help him, but he refused and said that he was living his life the way he wanted. How can you help someone when he thinks he is right? My grandfather used to say that my father is weak, and I agree, because I have no argument to say otherwise. I never expected to get anything from my grandparents. I'm grateful for what they left me, and I still would be if they left me nothing, because they did more than what they should. I already knew that I will not get anything from my father, financially or emotionally. The same with my mother. Our relationships are superficial. It has been like this since I was a kid. But I won't worry if she ever stops and leaves me nothing. It is her right, and the same with my father. In the end, I take what I'm given, and I can agree with you that I am also entitled. So update number 3, a little family mess, and my father strikes again, but now he got more than he asked for. 2.5 months after my last post. After the last incident with my father, everything was quiet, and my girlfriend and I left to Europe. Christmas passed and there was no sight of my father. My friends that were taking care of the house reported no incidents. Everything was going well until I received a call from my uncle, father's brother, on December 28th. My uncle called me to tell me that he's leaving the state and is selling his house. He asked me if I was interested in the house because he was pretty desperate to leave. He didn't tell me the reason why he was leaving, and I didn't care. What matters to me is that he was desperate, and this was the opportunity to fulfill my grandpa's wish. Before I continue, I have to give you some context. My uncle's house was my grandfather's childhood home. My grandpa gave it to him, but later regretted it. He left me the task of recovering it, and if I succeeded, to give it to my cousin Marie, my uncle's daughter from his first marriage. He never recognized her, and that is one of the many reasons of my grandpa's regret. My uncle doesn't know that I have contact with his daughter or that I know everything that happened in the past. If he did, he wouldn't sell me the house. Yes, he is that petty. Now, I decided to use the family card and my uncle's desperation to get the house cheap. I know more or less the value of the house, so I made him an offer, way below the real value, but that I was going to pay him in 3 installments. My uncle declined because it was too low and because he is not coming back. What he really meant is that he is not going to contact me again. I told him that if he could wait until my return, January 3rd, I could pay him the same amount in one go, but I would also take care of the legal fees and his moving expenses. Meanwhile, he just needed to pack his things, have his paperwork ready, and everything would be done that day. Surprisingly, he immediately agreed. We returned and I could buy the house without problems, and my uncle left the same day. The next day, I called my cousin to tell her to come as soon as she can to my country. She lives in Europe because there is one more thing that my grandparents left to her. She came a few days ago and I gave her the house and the rest of the money.
Dang.
Whoa.
So he gave her the other house.
Yeah, the uncle's house. She had to stay a few days to deal with paperwork, and in those days, who decided to appear once again? You guessed it, my father. Unbeknownst to me, my uncle had another buyer, and that person was my father. My father asked my uncle to wait a few days so he could gather more money. And when he got it, he called my uncle, but he already sold me the house. My uncle, in order to avoid dealing with my father, told him that I bought the house. My father, knowing that he could no longer approach my house, he decided to go to my new one, but he was going to receive a surprise. He knocked and demanded that I give it to him, but no one is in there for the moment, so he decided to break in. We saw everything through the doorbell camera. My cousin doesn't speak our language, so I was the one who called the police in her name. Thanks to the area where the house is and the fact that my cousin is a foreigner, the police took action faster than the previous times. It is a pity that I don't have a photo of my father's face when he discovered that the house wasn't mine. It was glorious. My cousin, with my lawyer's help and mine, pressed charges, and combined with my father's previous actions, he will spend a few months in jail.
Dang.
Whoa.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. But you can spend the next few months and more listening to full episodes with more stories just like this one. Just go to iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast app is, and search OK Storytime. Thanks to a few people, I was able to find out why my uncle was desperate to leave. He pissed off his wife's family like really bad. I sent him a text telling him that if he likes to rat me out to my father, I can do the same with his wife's family, so he better not come back unless he wants to play stupid games, and he blocked me after that. He already told me that he wasn't coming back, but I better make sure that he doesn't. In the end, if my cousin decides to keep the house, this will benefit her since she doesn't want to cross paths with my uncle. So yeah, the year started off with a bang. I pretty much got rid of my so-called family for what I think is forever and can finally start building one with my girlfriend without the worry of unwanted people showing up. There are some relevant comments to wrap this up. Accomplished Key 739 says, what did the uncle do to upset the wife's family? OP said he got wasted on Christmas and ended up fighting with his brother-in-law and his nephew, which is the brother-in-law's son. And if that wasn't enough, he also got violent with his stepdaughter who was trying to calm him down.
Stop.
All of this in front of his wife's entire family. Accomplished Key says, just curious, was he charged or arrested? OP says none of that, which is why he was in a hurry to leave. Dang, that's the end of that story.
I told my mother to stop updating my kid's father, but she won't listen.
Stop talking to them, please.
I have a beautiful 4-year-old boy whose father, we're going to call David, is not in the picture after I made the decision of cutting him out of our lives after he got a girlfriend and stopped asking about our son. By the way, this comes from Serious Entry 7574. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. Some context. I used to live in a Hispanic country where I met David. We dated for about a year, broke up, but continued to hook up until August 2020 when the vid hit and I decided to move back to the States. When I moved back, I was unaware I was pregnant. Fast forward, I find out I'm having a boy and I make it public on social media. David texts me and asks why he was not made aware of my pregnancy and asks that we get back together and for me to move back to the country so he can be involved in my baby's life. We had a conversation and we both agreed it's in my son's best interests if he is born in the States and he can be involved in my son's life through FaceTime and phone calls. I also made him aware that if he was going to be in my son's life, it was going to be 24/7, not whenever he wanted to. David and I grew up with divorced parents and a very absent father, so naturally we didn't want our son to go through the same experiences we had with our father. Fast forward to 2022, David was very involved in my son's life. We kept things civil. We both started relationships. I met my husband and he met his now partner, who he has another kid with. A few months into David's new relationship, I noticed he started to call and text a little bit less. Naturally, I gave him the benefit of the doubt and thought maybe he's busy working or just has some family stuff going on. No big deal. He used to call about 4 to 5 times a week, text almost every day asking how our son was. Then he began to text 3, maybe 4 times a week and would call 2 times at the most during the week. One day, I decided to ask if everything was okay, and he made me aware that his girlfriend was not too happy with the fact that he had a son, so they broke things off. He then explained to her that our son was living in the States and he didn't see him physically, but he did call and text. She immediately became okay with that and continued the relationship. That for me was a red flag. Yeah, I'm sorry, he has a son. You have to get over that. If you can't, you have to leave.
Yeah, like unless she was doing math and she was like, so the beginning of this pregnancy was while we were dating.
Yeah.
That would be a problem. But yeah, if he just has a son, then it's like, girl, calm down.
Son doesn't just leave.
Yeah.
Doesn't just disappear.
Exactly. Like if that's just not what you want in your lifestyle right now,
Yeah.
sure, but don't get mad about
Don't
it.
get mad about it.
Yeah.
But I was not going to intervene in a relationship that was not mine. He said everything was okay, and he began to call and text a little bit more. My son was around 2 years old at this time, so he knew about his bio dad, but began to call my husband dad also. By the time August of 2022 hit, David was calling 2 to 3 times per month. I had a conversation with David about him not being there and only calling whenever he wanted to. He then explained that his girlfriend wasn't a big fan of him calling me to communicate with our son. So to please her, he began to call less and less. Eventually, I was not hearing from David for months at a time, and my son began to call and interact with my husband as if he were his dad. By then, my son had forgotten David's name and stopped asking and mentioning him. My husband and I had a talk and decided it would be for my son's well-being if he did not know about David until he was at the age where he would understand the situation. Okay, now to the title. Fast forward to 2025. David is no longer in our lives. He lives in an area remotely close to where my mother lives in this Hispanic country, so they frequently bump into each other. My mom constantly brings up this topic or David's name in front of my husband and keeps insinuating David is my son's only dad. She would send David and his mom pictures of my son, milestone updates, etc. I've asked her many times not to do so because it is disrespectful to my husband and son and to me. She always plays that he has the right to know, and I'm only trying to look out for my son's best interest at his young age. She has also expressed many times that David has been very regretful for not communicating with his son, and he would like to make it up to him. My mom has asked that I give my son the opportunity to meet David after all these years. I expressed to her that I don't think it's a convenient time to tell my son about David because he sees my husband as his dad, and I don't want to confuse an innocent 3-year-old just because David decided to please his partner and leave our son with an absent father. My mom has David's number and his mom's number, and they constantly text back and forth about how my son is doing. My mom hid this from me until recently. I asked her to stop. Otherwise, I would stop answering her calls and she would not hear from us. Obviously, she did not follow my requests, and I spent over 6 weeks without picking up phone calls from her. I received many calls and threats from her, but I ignored all of them. I stood my ground. My husband has stepped up in so many ways, being a true father figure for our son, and my son absolutely adores him. I don't believe it's fair to him to constantly have David's name rubbed in his face and to be told he is my son's only father, when my husband has been there since my son was 18 months old and has never left his side no matter what. So my question is, what do I do at this point? Should I cut off all communication with my mom for not respecting my decision, or should I give in and give David a chance to talk to our son? I'm sorry it's such a long post, but details were needed for this to make sense. And edit. I decided not to move back to the country where my mom and David live because of the economic situation. And to be honest, I could financially support my child better in the States on my own than in that country with David's help. He also wanted to get back together, and that was not gonna happen at all. For those of you saying I'm keeping my child from his father, I made a decision for me and my son's best interest. My husband has decided not to intervene because, like I said, it's for my son and I's best interest at the moment. In the last 2 years, David has reached out max 5 times directly to me. The times he has reached out, it has been, hey, how's the kid? I reply, he's good. He did such and such today. And that's it. And then I don't hear from him for another 6 months. So forgive me for trying to avoid causing my child to feel unwanted or uncared for by someone who is said to be his father when he only remembers he has a kid every few months. The only reason David and his mom text, call, communicate with my mother is because he knows dang well that if he tried to reach out to me, he knows he will not get a response from me because I'm the bad one who doesn't let him communicate with his child when this whole time he has tried to reach out, like I said, a good 5 times in 2 years. He knows my mom will insist and insist until I give in. By the way, I'm going to insist that you guys gotta listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there's a little bit more to the story. Like I said in the post, I grew up with an absent dad who couldn't keep a job, had 2 more kids after my siblings and I, and who was in and out of our lives whenever he felt he needed to give us love. And to this day, reaches out every once in a while asking for money. Personally, I decided to not have communication with my dad for my own mental health. So forgive me for trying to save my child from the trauma, daddy issues, and not feeling loved or wanted from a parent who decides to be in and out of his life. The only thing I'll say to that comment, I do think in part you're right. You had a choice in not wanting to have a relationship with your dad. So I do think just when your child is old enough, providing them that same choice.
Yeah.
If I have the opportunity to give my son a father figure who will actually love and care for him, so be it. I don't care if he is his bio dad or not. When my son is old enough to understand, he will know the truth. That is it.
Yeah, that's complicated. Because that question originally was, am I the a-hole if I don't let David contact the kid, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I wonder if she can have a tougher conversation with him. Be like, hey, you said you wanted to be more active, but your activity is a couple times every couple years.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. So it's what that means to me is that you're calling this amount of times. So if you don't want to call this amount of times, then we're going to give you another title and we're going to explain your behavior a different way.
Yeah. No, I think just having that conversation with him again, only because he is still he's not a dad in how much effort he's putting in for sure, but he is,
purely
biologically dad.
Yeah. I want to move in with my boyfriend, but my mom can't stand him.
Mother knows best.
I, 23 female, and my boyfriend, 25 male, and I have been together for 3 years. We met online and clicked right away. He's genuinely one of the kindest, most hardworking people I know. I just graduated with a degree in graphic design and have been living at home to save money during school. By the way, this comes from Macaroon Top 4015, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. The tough part is my mom has hated him from the start. She used to let him come over, but now he's not even allowed on our property. When I used to borrow my parents' car, they gave me strict rules about when I could see him. Even after getting my own car, they constantly tried to guilt me about where I went and tracked my location through my phone. It's been really emotionally exhausting. My mom constantly insults him and even talks badly about me for staying with him. She calls him white trash and says that he won't amount to anything. The truth is, he's worked his butt off. He left a high-paying job to go to trade school, just got his journeyman license, and is planning to get his degree in electrical engineering. He's not perfect, but he's doing everything he can to build a better future. My mom has even tried to bribe me to break up with him, offering things like vacations or a new motorcycle, but only if I'm single.
You can have it. You can have it if you're breaking up with your boyfriend.
Right. And now my dad, who I think actually likes him, just goes along with it to avoid drama. The final straw was recently when I found out that they put a hidden camera inside the house while they were on vacation without telling me.
Isn't that illegal?
What?
Well,
is that illegal?
It's in their own house.
It's in their own house.
Oh, it's their own house.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's just
ooh.
living with her parents.
It wasn't for the dogs. It felt like a huge breach of trust, and it really hurt. The thing is, my friends, coworkers, and extended family all like him. He's not the problem. The problem is this constant pressure at home. We just toured some apartments and applied for one we love. The move-in date is in 2 weeks. I have a solid full-time job and my own car. I'm fully ready for this. But now that it's real, I'm freaking out about telling my parents. They have no idea I'm doing this, and I know it's going to blow up when I tell them. Am I the a-hole? And there is an edit. I'm just worried about telling her because she has a history of lashing out verbally when I don't do exactly what she wants. She also has a history with regular booze use. She quit for a while, but now it's slowly seeping back in. There are some comments. Comment number 1 says, personally, I would move out all my important stuff before telling them. I do not mean your clothes or furniture, but the things that could not easily be replaced. Documentation such as birth certificate, passport, laptop, any truly meaningful trinkets, inherited jewelry, for example. Once that is out, I would tell them as I was carrying a big bag of all my clothes out of the house. Someone responds, also, secretly get a new phone. Gradually shift the context that you want to keep the new one. The day you leave, factory reset the old one and leave it on mom's table. Best of luck to you and fly free, not the a-hole. Comment number 2 says, sounds like mama has a really, really bad case of empty nest syndrome and doesn't want to let go. She's beginning to realize you're grown up and she doesn't want to let go of you. If you have a stable job, move the heck out. Boyfriend sounds like a good man, but don't depend on him. Every woman needs her own. Comment number 3 says, not the a-hole. You are of age, can support yourself. You can do what you want. Have your parents acted this way with other boyfriends? Is there a possibility that they see something that the others do not? OP says, she's always had issues with every boyfriend I've had. There's only one that she liked, and he ended up being the worst of them all. She's just progressively gotten worse with her feelings and how she treats me no matter who I date. But we do have an update. We signed our lease yesterday and are paying our deposit and first month's rent today. I went home and told my parents what was happening, and of course, I couldn't help but cry because I knew that they would freak out. Of course, they freaked out. I told them I was moving out, and they asked if it was with my boyfriend, and I said yes. My dad said that he was disappointed, and then my mom ran downstairs and made herself throw up for dramatic effect. They then proceeded to ask questions like, when are you leaving? How much is it? Etc. I answered their questions, and then we started into that I lied and deceived them. I didn't know I was doing this until last Saturday, and how I was being sneaky because I knew that I was doing it wrong. I was told that I was stupid for choosing to live with him and wrap myself up with him, and that I gave this zero thought. But I've been thinking about this for a couple of years. Planning for about 3. I have run so many spreadsheets to make sure that it was a financially sound decision and plan for the unexpected. Boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years, so really no worry about us not getting along or anything. We have the maturity to deal with things in a civil manner if things didn't work out. My parents continue to pester me about how much they don't like him and that they wish that I would have come to them for help. I told them I wasn't comfortable with that because they likely would have tried to change my mind or alter my decision. They tried to pry my boyfriend's financial information out of me, like his credit score, and I told them that it was none of their business and that even my financials are none of their business. They also talked about the fact that he should try harder to earn their respect and a relationship with them, in which I replied, it's a little difficult considering you won't allow him anywhere around you. They replied, well, he could work on improving his finances and living situation to earn our respect.
They're moving.
He's doing that.
They're literally improving their living situation.
He's saying that I can afford an apartment.
Yeah, I don't understand. That's actively happening right now.
I said, we are not here to impress you or make you happy. Of course, this upset them.
They're like, what? What do you mean you're not here to impress us?
Like, what do you mean?
Come on, dance, monkey.
They tried to tell me that I have 3 days to rescind the property. This isn't true. That's only if you buy a property or a car. They also told me that if they'd been involved in the decision-making process, they would have helped pay my rent and bought me furniture, and I said I didn't want that.
No, they would have helped pay rent if you were single.
Yeah, exactly. And then even if they actually did pay rent for this situation, they would like use that as reason to have a say in other things in your life. I was also told that I have no ambition, but I just graduated college with my bachelor's degree, started my own graphic design business, and worked a full-time job that pays well. And I bought my own car last summer. My dad also told me that I was bound to fail several times in life, and that this may be one of those times. What a lovely thing to say to someone as they go out in the world. After about 2 hours of arguing and putting me down, my mother insisted that my dad drive her to the liquor store. He refused.
At least
good.
The dad is slightly sensible.
Yeah. She tried 3 more times until he finally gave in. Okay, never mind.
Never mind.
Fast forward to this morning. My dad says to me as I sit down for breakfast, I'm sitting at the dining table and he's at the kitchen counter. This is our common seating. No one sits at the table with me. The discussion about this apartment isn't over. So I ask what he wants to talk about. He proceeds to tell me that I am jeopardizing their finances because he is a co-borrower on my motorcycle and that I won't be paying for the horse anymore. We split expenses. He told me I had 30 days to refinance and get my motorcycle out of his name or I have to sell it. I told them that they could give the horse back to her owner as the old owner already said that they'd love to have her back if the opportunity ever arises. So either this is a literal horse or this is just a big metaphor for a motorcycle.
I think this is a horse. I think OP has a motorcycle and a horse.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The issue with them saying that it puts them in a financial situation is that they just bought a $1,000 car and are spending thousands of dollars on vacation this year. Money is not an issue. They then proceeded to tell me how I think they're such terrible parents and how stupid I am for making this decision. They try to tell me that if I can somehow get out of this lease, they'll help me pick out another apartment with their help and money. I said I didn't want any strings attached to them. So then they start arguing more about that I have given this no thought and that I act like I'm 16. I left for work before even eating breakfast because I was sick of the treatment I was getting. So now I am stressing about trying to get my motorcycle refinanced. I'm worried about being denied and then having to sell it. I know the horse will be in a loving home with her old owners. I only have a few days left in their house, but I worry about going home now that I'll be pestered.
Probably.
Yeah, there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, have your parents ever given a legitimate reason for not liking your boyfriend? Opie says their biggest gripe is that he comes from a lower class family.
Yeah, these people are rich.
Yeah.
They're rich.
He has already far surpassed anything his family has done in life. They say he's a one-upper whenever he talks, but this is not true. All of my friends and other family like him. And that is the end of that story.
Dang.
Wait,
man.
what?
Yeah, you just gotta move out. Your parents are gonna hold you down if you stay there.
Yeah.
And they're gonna if you take any of their money, it's not a free lunch.
No, but you know what is free? Listening to more full episodes of stories just like this one on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast app is, and search OK Storytime. But that is the end of that story.
Wow.
Wow.
Good luck, OP, and good luck with your horse. I hope it
Yeah.
returns to its loving owner.
Say a very nice goodbye to your horse. That's the end of the story and the end of the episode.
Oh boy.
Would you look at that? So if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you and